Now the secret to creating a large macro is to break it down into smaller macros. So I'd like to create a large macro that basically imports a text file, which could have a varying name from another system, imports a text file into Excel, does quite a bit of manipulating with the data to get it to look like a list or a database, and then appends it to another file called orders. So that's the idea. Now what I'd like to do is first of all make the first macro, and the first macro is simply to import a text file into Excel. To start with, what we'll do is we'll close all the files we have open in Excel. So I'm just going to click on the File tab in the ribbon and just choose Close to close Chapter 1. I still have Excel open and I still have the Visual Basic Editor open. Now what I'd like to do is just open up a blank new file. So I'll click on File, I'll click on New, I've got Blank Workbook chosen, so I'll just click Create. Now this particular file is going to host the code. And this particular file, I'd like to save it as a macro-enabled workbook and just give it the name Import. So I'm just going to go to File and Save As, and save it with the name Import. And it's going to be a macro-enabled workbook so that it hosts code, basically. And I'll hit Save. Alright, so now what I'd like to do is record my first macro, my first small macro. So on the Developers tab in the Code group, I'm going to hit the Record Macro button. And I'd like to name this macro Import File, one word. I'm not worried about assigning a shortcut key, and I'm not worried about a description. And also this code is just to reside in this workbook. So I'll click OK. Now what I'd like to do is open up a file. It's a text file and it's called November 2000. So I'm just going to go File and Open. And by default Excel only shows me Excel files. So I need to change that it shows me all files. And here's my November 2000 file that I'd like to open. So I click the Open button and open up that file. Now because it's a text file, of course Excel feels compelled to start the text import wizard. Now when I look at this little preview down here, I want to start importing the file, but at row 4. I really don't need the heading, the subheading in this blank row. So I'm going to start importing at row 4. And I know that all the other steps I'm just going to go next, next, next to. So why bother? I'm just going to click the Finish button and that will import this file, November 2000, into Excel starting from row 4. So I'll just hit Finish and there it is there. What I then want to do is I want to be able to see the November 2000 file and the import file at the same time. So for this I'm actually going to go to View in the ribbon and I want to arrange all, and I'll just click OK. And so now I can see my import file and my November file at the same time. Now to bring this November 2000 sheet into the import file, I'm simply going to drag it. So I'm dragging the sheet by its name, November 2000, and dragging it into the import file and just plonking it in front of sheet 1. So now it's in the import file. The November 2000 file automatically closes because it can't stay open without containing at least one sheet, and I've just moved that one sheet into import. So now what I'm going to do is maximize this file just using the maximize button, and so I'm completely viewing the import file. Row 2 contains a series of equal signs and I actually don't need those. So I'm going to right click row 2 and I'm going to delete that row. I'm then going to click on A1 because I always like to finish a macro at the same place. So I always like to finish in A1 and if possible start in A1, and that way each macro finishes and starts in the desired position or a known position. And now I'm going to stop recording. So I'll go to the Developers tab and I'll click the Stop Recording button. And I'll save my work just in case something goes wrong. So I'll just hit the Save button on the Quick Access toolbar. And so that's my first macro made. Now when I look over here at the Visual Basic Editor, I can't see the code. And that is because I'm not in the module that I need to be in. It's showing me that I am in the import project, and if I double click modules and I double click module 1, there's the code there. And this is the code called import file, which basically imports this particular November 2000 file into import.